This is a presentation sponsored by the North Dakota Center for Nursing. My name is Dr. Constance Kolonik, and I'm Executive Director of the North Dakota Board of Nursing. This presentation is entitled How a Bill Becomes a Law and What is the Century Code. The North Dakota Legislative Assembly consists of the House and the Senate. After redistricting in this past year, the number of senators and representatives has changed. We now have 47 districts, one senator from each, so 47 senators, and 2 representatives from each of the 47 districts, which is 94 total representatives. The legislative members, once elected, take office December 1st of even-numbered years, and then the Legislative Assembly convenes in the beginning of January. The first Legislative Assembly convened on November 19th, 1889. This link is a link to the North Dakota Century Code page. There are 65 titles in this Century Code, on the Century Code page, and list of chapters within each title. The North Dakota Nurse Practices Act is under Title 43, Occupations and Professions. It is Chapter 43, 12.1. Revisions to the Nurse Practice Act can only occur through legislative action. The North Dakota Board of Nursing as an agency can sponsor a bill that includes may include many revisions to the Practice Act or very minor changes. Individuals or organizations may also sponsor revisions or changes to the Practice Act. The next slide is how a bill becomes a law. A bill is prepared by an agency or legislative council. That particular bill is introduced, it's provided with a bill number, and then assigned to a committee. Once the bill is assigned to a committee, a hearing will be scheduled by the committee. A hearing is held by the sponsors, and the sponsors, opponents, and those neutral present testimony. Anyone may attend a hearing. The committee takes all the testimony into consideration and then reports the bill out with a vote by the committee members. The bill may come out as a do pass, a do not pass, and with or without amendments. Occasionally, a bill will be referred to another committee, but this is very seldom. The next slide is a continuation of how a bill becomes a law. Once the bill comes out of committee with a recommendation, it is placed on the calendar. If the bill contains amendments from the original version, it will be placed on the 13th order. If not, it will be placed on the 11th order. It'll be read and voted on. One of the committee members will carry the bill and talk about it prior to the vote. Other members may also speak in support or in opposition to the bill. The bill is then voted on. If it passes, it goes to the second house. If it fails, then it is done. It is finished for that particular legislative session. Once it goes to the second house, then the same process starts all over again. The bills are completely vetted by the time action is taken in the second house. If it passes, then it will take effect July 1st, if legislation with an appropriation. So if there's dollars attached to the bill, it will take effect July 1st because that's the beginning of the fiscal year. If it is not an appropriated piece of legislation, then August 1st by all other pieces of legislation will take effect. In summary then, the next slide is the North Dakota Century Code includes all the general and permanent law enacted since statehood. The first part refers to the title, the second to the chapter, and the third to the section. The Century Code, again, has 65 titles that are generally arranged in alphabetical order. The Nurse Practices Act is part of the North Dakota Century Code. The administrative rules, the NDCC, are developed to carry out the purposes and provisions of the Century Code. The North Dakota Administrative Code, Title 54, are the rules for the Board of Nursing. These rules regulate the standards for nursing education, licensure, and practice. Included within the Century Code 4312.1-08 is the section entitled Duties of the Board. The duty of the board is to regulate the practice of nursing to assure that qualified, competent practitioners and high quality standards are available. And finally, A brochure is available on the legislative website. If you go to the link that's provided on this slide, a copy of the brochure can be made, and it summarizes in a very colorful way how a bill becomes a law.